Imagine your niece growing up calling someone auntie, and then suddenly that aunt becomes her stepmom. Now picture this. It's Mother's Day, and you're planning a sweet celebration. Do you include her? This isn't just drama, it's real, and it gets complicated fast. Let's talk about it. So let's rewind. Before all this tension, before the awkward Mother's Day dinner, things were simple. My niece, let's call her A, is just 8 years old. Sweet, curious, and honestly, she's been through enough already. Her mum is my older sister, and for all of A's life, I've been close to her, watching her grow up, babysitting her, attending her school plays. She's like a second daughter to me. Now here's where it starts to twist. My boyfriend, who I've been with for 11 years, has a younger sister. She's 22 now. That's the woman we're calling SIL in this story. SIL has been part of our extended family circle for a long time. Naturally, A grew up calling her Auntie, just like any other relative who's around for birthdays, family barbecues, and holidays. Nothing unusual about that. But a few months ago, something happened that no one really saw coming. SIL got engaged and married on the same day to A's father. Yep, you heard that right. There was no lead-up, no announcement, no, hey, we're thinking about this. Just a sudden, surprise wedding. One moment, SIL was the fun young aunt figure, and the next, she was legally my niece's stepmother. It shook everyone, especially because A's father hasn't exactly been active. He's not a co-parent. He pops up around Christmas, maybe a birthday here and there, but he doesn't have custody. A lives with her mom, and that's the world she knows. And now, bam, her absent dad is married to her aunt. You can probably imagine the confusion. For A, total blindside. But even for us adults, it felt off. My first reaction was just concern. I didn't go into attack mode. I asked SIL, calmly, if she realized how confusing this would be for A. Her answer? You're being dramatic. Move on. Move on? Like it's no big deal? And that's the thing that stuck with me, because it is a big deal. This isn't just a label change, it's an emotional shift in a little girl's life. A girl who's already navigating her parents' separation, and now has to untangle the idea that her aunt is suddenly a new parental figure. Except no one told her. She's not even aware they're married yet. And listen, this isn't about gatekeeping titles. I truly believe stepmoms can be amazing mothers, heroes even. But this felt rushed. It felt like no one stopped to ask, what's best for A? When you put a child in the middle of something confusing, without explanation, without time to adjust, it's not just uncomfortable, it's unfair. And that's where the tension started. Not because I don't want SIL to be part of A's life, but because how it was done felt all wrong. So when Mother's Day came around, that tension was already simmering. And what happened next? Well, it cracked everything wide open. Let's get into it. So let's talk about that Mother's Day. I'd been planning this dinner for a couple of weeks. Nothing too fancy, just something heartfelt. A home-cooked meal, a little gathering to say, hey, we see you. We appreciate everything you do. I invited my mom, my mother-in-law, and of course, my sister, A's mom. These are the women I see putting in the work, day in and day out. The moms who show up, carry the emotional weight, wipe tears, and sign school permission slips. To make it fun, we even ordered a custom cake. It said, Happy Mother's Day to the 3 Momketeers. It was playful, but meaningful too. It made them smile, and honestly, it felt good to give them that moment. The day of the dinner, everyone arrived on time. Laughter filled the kitchen. The kids were running around. It was one of those rare evenings that felt light again. But that peace didn't last long. SIL pulled me aside midway through and said, in a soft but sharp tone, why wasn't I included with the other moms? And I just stared at her for a second, not because I was trying to be rude, but because I genuinely didn't understand the question. Why would she expect that? I asked her, as gently as I could, why would I include you in a celebration for moms when you're not a mom? And that was it. That was the moment the whole night shifted. She looked at me like I had slapped her. She didn't say another word to me the rest of the night. It felt tense after that. Not explosive, just cold, like someone turned the heat off in the room. When I got home later, my phone started blowing up. A's dad, SIL's new husband, had sent me over 20 messages saying I was cruel, saying SIL is A's mom now, and that I had no right to exclude her. He said I was making her feel small and unwelcome. But here's the thing, I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just didn't see her as a mother figure in A's life, at least, not yet. A doesn't even know they're married. She still calls her Auntie. They haven't had the talk, they haven't built that bond, and she hasn't taken on any of the responsibilities that usually come with parenting. To me, celebrating someone as a mother is more than a title. It's a role, a relationship, a level of presence and care that's earned over time, not just signed on a marriage license. Was I harsh? Maybe. But was I honest? Absolutely. And now, the family's divided. Some people think I should apologize, that I was too blunt. Others quietly agree but don't want to get involved. I'm stuck wondering, did I handle this wrong? Or was I just the only one willing to say what no one else wanted to say? We'll get deeper into that in the next part, because the story doesn't end here. After the texts and cold stares, I started thinking more deeply about the whole situation. Maybe I was too blunt. Maybe my timing wasn't great. But the more I thought about it, the more I kept coming back to one question. What makes someone a mother? Is it biology? Is it legal status? Is it love, consistency, care, or something else entirely? Look, I don't have an issue with step-parents being seen as real parents. Not at all. I've seen incredible stepmums and stepdads who love their stepkids like their own. I respect that deeply, but in this case, it felt off, not because she's a stepmom in theory, but because the foundation wasn't there. Let's be honest, this wasn't some long, steady relationship where a bond grew over time. CIL didn't slowly take on a mothering role in A's life. She was Auntie, and then suddenly married to A's dad, after a one-day engagement. No conversations with the family, no transition for A, no guidance, and A still doesn't even know. So, from A's point of view, nothing has changed. She still thinks her dad is a guy she sees on holidays, and her aunt is, well, her aunt. Which is exactly why I found it hard to suddenly flip a switch and say, okay, now you're a mom too. Even emotionally, it doesn't feel real yet. I think what bothered me the most was how quickly CIL expected that recognition. Like, the ink was barely dry on the marriage certificate, and already she wanted the title and the tribute. No groundwork, no effort to gently shift her role with A, and zero acknowledgement that this might be confusing or even painful for a little girl trying to understand why her parents aren't together. And that's the part no one seems to want to talk about. A's feelings. The adults are fighting over labels and cake inscriptions, and no one's checking in with the child in the middle of it all. That's what frustrates me. Because if this was really about love and parenting, wouldn't the first step be helping A understand what's happening? Wouldn't it be about her adjustment, her comfort, her emotions? Instead, I'm being told to just accept it, to play along, to rewrite family roles on command. And maybe that's where I draw the line. I don't hate CIL. I don't want to exclude her forever. But you don't just marry into motherhood overnight, especially not with a child who's already got her world flipped upside down. That kind of trust takes time. That kind of love has to be earned, not demanded. So the question I keep wrestling with is this: was I standing up for my niece, or was I just stuck in my own version of what family is supposed to look like? That's where the guilt creeps in, and it's what I'll explore next. Because this situation brought up more than just family drama. It made me question myself too. After the Mother's Day dinner, and after days of sitting with all the messages and tension, I started to feel something I didn't expect: shame. Not because I thought I did something terrible, but because it seemed like everyone else thought I did. The texts didn't stop with A's dad. I got messages from extended family, cousins, aunts, even a couple of friends who heard about it secondhand. Some were subtle, like, hey, maybe next time just include everyone, even if it's awkward. Others were more direct. You made her feel like she didn't belong. That's cruel. And that word hit me hard, cruel, because in my heart, I never meant to be that. I didn't go into that dinner with spite. I wasn't trying to create a moment of exclusion. But somehow, my decision to not treat Seal like a mother was being interpreted as a moral failure, and that's a tough place to sit in, when your intention doesn't match how your actions are being seen. It made me second-guess everything. Maybe I could have handled the moment better. Maybe I could have pulled her aside before the party and talked it through. Maybe a heads up would have softened the blow. But does that mean I was wrong to feel how I felt? Wrong to not see her in that role yet? Here's where it gets even more complicated. I started feeling like I was being asked to rewrite my own truth to make everyone else comfortable. Because the reality is, this wasn't just about Seal. It was about family dynamics, about history, about loyalty. I've watched my sister raise A through heartbreak, uncertainty, and years of showing up without help. I've seen her carry the weight, alone. So, when someone steps in and suddenly wants the same recognition without that same journey, it feels unfair and a little disrespectful, even if that's not what was intended. But saying that out loud, it makes you look bitter, jealous, petty. There's this unspoken pressure in families to keep the peace, to smile and go along, even when something doesn't sit right in your gut. But I've learned that peacekeeping sometimes looks a lot like silencing yourself, and I'm starting to wonder if that's what I've done, too many times before, bit my tongue so things wouldn't get messy. But this time, I didn't. I said the quiet part out loud, and now I'm the problem. At least that's how it feels. The hardest part isn't the backlash, it's the way people are overlooking why this happened. The fact that a child is still in the dark, that her emotional world is being reshaped without her knowing, that her auntie became a stepmom behind closed doors, and we're all expected to celebrate it without pause. It's not that I can't grow to see Sil as a parent. Maybe one day I will. But forcing it before the bond is there, that's not love. That's performance. And right now, I'm just not ready to play along. So here we are, after the cake, the silence, the texts, and the guilt. And I've been sitting with one truth. Family is messy. And when new people join the picture, through love, marriage, or anything in between,
Do I regret not including SIL in our Mother's Day celebration?
a little. Not because I think she's earned the title of mom just yet, but because I didn't leave room for possibility, for the idea that maybe, just maybe, she was hoping to start building something new. That said, I also don't regret standing up for what felt honest. We're allowed to protect the space of the people who have shown up every day, without apology, and we're allowed to say, not yet, when someone new wants a seat at the table we've spent years setting. But maybe what I've learned most is this. In families, you don't always get clean lines. People change, roles evolve, and sometimes the hardest thing is accepting that two truths can live side by side. Yes, SIL may eventually become a beautiful, loving figure in A's life. And yes, it was too soon to expect the same honor as a mother who's been there since day one. It's not about choosing sides. It's about allowing space for growth, without skipping the process. What I am doing now is approaching this with more openness. I've had a real conversation with my sister. I've reached out to A's dad and said, "Look, I'm willing to talk, if it's about what's best for A. Not about pride, not about roles, about the child caught in the middle. And as for SIL, we're not exactly hugging it out, but I'm trying, slowly, with boundaries, because growth doesn't happen overnight, and neither does trust. So here's where I leave you today, with this thought. Every family has its unspoken rules. Every celebration comes with expectations. But when something doesn't feel right, you are allowed to pause, you're allowed to question, and you're allowed to speak up, even if your voice shakes a little. If you've ever felt stuck between being honest and keeping the peace, if you've ever been the bad guy for telling your truth, you're not alone. Now, I've got a favor to ask. If this story reminded you of someone in your life, maybe a sister, a stepmom, or a moment when family got complicated, hit the like button and leave a simple comment with one word, Family. That's it. Just one word. Let's fill the feed with it. Because family isn't easy. But when we talk about it openly, like this, we make room for healing. For all of us. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.